creating custom Pokemon for you! Welcome back, everyone, to the show where we select lucky commenters to spin a series of random wheels that give us factors for a Pokemon that we then create just for you. It's gonna be an awesome episode today, y'all. We're gonna make 3 amazing custom Pokemon. What in the world?
There you are. You thought you could just toss me aside after everything I've done for you?
I didn't know.
Well, now you're gonna do something for me.
You have merch?
This is the SEDI-MAT! And in my opinion, it's the greatest product ever made. An epic battle scene that comes in desk mat and playmat sizes, and features your favorite SEDilutions in a D&D style battle against a corrupted dragon. SEDI-Mage launches an explosive fireball, SEDI-Rogue slashes off a tentacle, SEDI-Monk throws an uppercut, and while it looks like SEDI-Mite is running away in fear, I think we can all agree that that must be a mistake because it's super good looking and it has a great workout routine, so that would never happen. I absolutely cannot fathom the quality of this mat. The material and texture is super premium, and despite being such a grand image, every detail shines through, making it add a bunch of excitement to any computer setup, or be the perfect backdrop to your favorite card game. I've always wanted to do super cool merch like this, but I wanted to make sure it was the quality you all deserve, and now that I partnered with Epic Desk, who creates premium custom desk mats and play mats for creators and global brands, that's finally possible. So if you want to make an action-packed upgrade to your computer setup or card game night, then make sure to use the link in my description to check out the SEDI-MAT. And if we don't sell enough, I'll have to... Oh god. Please hit that link. And today's first Pokemon will be for Crimson Inferno. They really are amazing. Y'all should go to the description and follow all of them. But anyways, Crimson, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a legendary for the first Pokemon of the day. That's insane. And legendary Pokemon usually don't evolve, but we do still spin this wheel where you have a chance to get some, but none this time. And now we'll spin this wheel to see what typing your legendary will be. Your first type is the water type. That's cool, usually pretty straightforward. And water dark. So we'll be making an evil legendary. That's cool. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is a Gigantamax form. We, like, never get to make Gigantamax forms, so the fact it's also on a legendary is amazing. Hundreds of years ago, on the island of Takyu, there lived a civilization of early trainers who specialized in rock and ground type Pokemon. And while this did give them a pretty cool aesthetic, sporting mons like Moilith and Palazar, it also meant they were extremely susceptible to the many water types that surrounded their island home. However, the civilization was able to survive for centuries, even through these tense conditions, thanks to their 4 brave protectors. An elder island resident, a trainer known as Torin, was a battle-hardened veteran who kept a small team of 3 unique Pokemon whom he raised from birth. He spent every waking second with them, teaching them the best battle techniques he knew, and having them battle against each other so that iron could sharpen iron. But this era of peace would all change one fateful day, when a giant tremor shook through the island as a colossal ocean monstrosity erupted from the sea, towering over the island itself and striking a primal terror into the entire population. And as they braced to meet their end at the hands of this evil legendary known as Mailgorn, the beast's tentacle would shoot forward, aimed directly at the center of the island. But just before it could land an explosive blow, it stopped. Instead, it crashed into the island's storehouse, scooping up a giant tentacle's worth of food, gulping it down in a single bite, before retreating back into the water with an intimidating stare. Turns out, this aquatic tyrant wasn't looking for destruction, it was looking for servants, as Mailgorn began showing up week after week, stealing away the island's food, and even destroying homes at random whenever the offering wasn't enough. Soon, the once prosperous island became nothing more than a machine built to feed the beast, with most residents losing hope entirely. But our group of 4 never lost hope. By day, they gathered berries to help feed the monster, but by night, their training resumed, now fueled by an anger and desperation. They made strides quickly, but they were still far from ready when tragedy struck. A bad harvest meant that there was no extra food to offer Mailgorn, who would surely destroy hundreds of residents in retaliation. For Torin, this was not an option. He prepared to face the beast head-on, rallying every resident who was willing willing to fight. And when the beast's next surfaced, it looked like they actually stood a chance, as volleys of Moai-Lith cannon fire and Palazar spikes pummeled Maelgorn, beating it back and back again. But it was all for nothing. Gathering a monstrous surge of energy, the beast unleashed the largest single beam of water ever seen, aimed straight at the island. And Tauren's trio of Pokemon were in the direct path. But right before the blast could obliterate them, Tauren threw himself in the way, hurling his 3 Pokemon to safety and taking the full brunt of the blast himself. When the water cleared, nothing of their master remained. The trio looked around their home, now wrecked beyond repair. The life they knew gone in an instant. And it was the grief of losing their trainer and their home that sparked the very first ever Tri-Evolution! As Condor, Pandor, and Finroar, legendaries from previous episodes in the series, fully formed for the first time. And in this new state, the trio was more than enough to defeat the already weakened Maelgorn, beating it into submission with every technique Tauren had taught them. He would surely have been proud. And as Maelgorn fell to the ground defeated, the remaining islanders came together and sealed it away with the strongest bonds they could forge, wrapping it in chains and sealing it in the very crater it had created on the island surface. And as time passed, the island of Takyu became a distant memory. The population moved on, and the Stone Hat Trio, as they would come to be known, continued their heroics, becoming known around the world as legends who saved the day time and time again. Decades passed, with Maelgorn trapped in the island's core, kept barely alive by the occasional small fish that swam too close to its jaws. Until one day, a shadowy figure stepped onto the island once more. It was Finroar, looking much different now. He had since been betrayed by his stone brothers, left to perish in battle, and was now seeking revenge against his brothers who he once stood beside right here on this very island. Finroar couldn't find them anywhere, but he knew what he was about to do would be more than enough to lure the cowards out. As he placed a wishing star at the foot of the chained Maelgorn, he watched as it writhed against its bindings, centuries of anger boiling over, ready to seize the power it needed to destroy not just this island, but the entire world. With a single kick, Finroar sent the wishing star forward, and it transformed the beast into Gigantamax Maelgorn. Now a world-ending threat, Maelgorn is ready to team up with the equally terrifying Finroar, whose revival of his old master's Slayer makes him a villain so villainous it even makes the distant cosmic legendary shudder. In terms of stats, Maelgorn is extremely strong, and the only thing that could be considered a weakness is its physical defense. And for the shiny, I went with this red and black as a reference to Finroar. But now let's get into the second Pokemon. And this one will be for Rose. I'm glad you liked Mega Codonaught in the last episode. We're about to make another one right after this. But anyways, Rose, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a Convergent Evolution. Fun! And it means that now we have to spin this wheel to see which generation of Pokemon will be making a Convergent 4, and it's Gen 3. We've definitely made a lot of conversions from Gen 3. I'm not complaining, but it is getting a little strange. But let's still spin this wheel that has every single Gen 3 Pokemon on it to see what we're working with, and it's Wailmer. That, of course, evolves into one of the largest Pokemon of all time, Wailord, so that's interesting. And now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this Convergent Wailmer line. Your first type is None, so whatever this next type is, it's your only type, and it's the Bug type. And the last step for see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do! A Corrupted form! These wheel results are as awesome as they are weird. Early birds are always catching this Pokemon. Your Pokemon is Whalewurm, the Sand Eater Pokemon. Similar to a kid at the playground, this Pokemon loves to eat sand, as its body is able to turn the small grains into tiny bits of energy that keep it sustained. However, because grains of sand aren't exactly the best source of carbs and protein, this diet forces Whalewurm to be in a near constant state of eating, as they can pretty much always be found underneath the sand, tunneling away through the grains one at a time. And upon reaching level 40, it'll evolve into Wormlord! You know the whole thing that Wailord is super big but super lightweight in comparison, basically making it a big balloon? Well, yeah, not so much with Wormlord. This gooey gargantuan is the heaviest custom Pokemon ever made, as its huge frame is as dense as it is long, which creates a huge problem for those seeking to travel the desert, as if a Wormlord just happens to be feeding nearby, your fate is all but sealed. It covers so much ground so quickly by dragging its mouth across the surface and pooling sand sand down its throat that by the time you feel the ground rumbling, it's already too late to run and you're guaranteed to become worm food. And it's this Pokemon's sheer size and appetite that was noticed by the distant evil cosmic legendary, Corrupted Wormlord, infusing it with a cosmic type and changing its diet from sand to metal and rock, as it now directs this force of pure destruction towards different cities across the region, turning them into nothing but rubble in a matter of minutes. In terms of stats, Corrupted Wormlord has as much attack as Wailord has HP, which is absolutely insane. Meanwhile, regular Wormlord has the exact same base stat total, but with that insane number in defense. And for the shiny, of course, I went with a reference to the original Wailord. But now let's get into the third Pokemon. But before we get into the final Pokemon, it's time for the Member Modifier. This is the segment of the show where we take a fan favorite Pokemon from a previous episode in the series and give it a brand new upgrade. We've spent the last 2 episodes giving Mega Evolution to our starter Pokemon, which gave us Mega Galilidai and Codonauts, which means that today it's our Grass-type starter Terra Atlas's turn. So when exposed to Territe, it'll evolve into Mega Terra Atlas, whose Atlas inspiration continues, as instead of holding a boulder meant to represent the Earth, it's now holding up the heavens themselves, giving it not only the new light typing, but also a new signature ability called World of Light, which turns all the user's earthy moves like rock, ground, and grass type attacks into light type moves with 5% life steal, which when combined with powerhouse staples like Rock Slide and Earthquake will make for a potentially busted doubles threat. Huge thank you to all my channel members, and for the shiny, I went with this orange and pink color to look like an autumn sky. And today's third Pokemon will be for Cheesy. That's actually a super cool idea, I'll think about. But anyways, Cheesy, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a Paradox form, which means now we'll bring back out this wheel to see which generation of Pokemon we'll be using, and it's Gen 1. I'm just glad it's not Gen 3. And of course, now we'll spin this wheel that has every single Gen 1 Pokemon on it, and we got Parasect. Definitely one of the more disturbing Pokemon of all time, so that's interesting. And every Paradox form keeps at least one of its old types, so we know that it'll stay Poison type, but let's still get a secondary type, and it's Dark. I actually really like that combination. It's one of the few combos that only has one weakness, which is super cool. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it's a past or future Paradox form, and it's Future. Whoa. This Pokemon is far from being boring. In fact, it's a super fun guy. Your Pokemon is Iron Biome, the spore containment Pokemon. In the far distant future, the world is run by shady and evil corporations that have completely thrown ethics to the side. So, you know, not that different. And this has led to the creation of many twisted future Paradox forms like Iron Wish, a contained Jirachi that's forced to grant the wishes of rich clients. Iron Fridge, who exists solely for the preservation of people's snack food. And Iron Biome, who is made for compliance control, as Iron Biome contains the same infecting fungus that takes over and controls Parasect's body, which it can fire out of its twin cannons to apply a fast-acting mind control effect to anything hit, as they're now deployed to areas of civil unrest before neutralizing the situation for the company's interest. In terms of stats, Iron Biome has insane special defense and good special attack, but it is quite slow. And for the shiny, I went with the standard chrome color. Before you go, make sure to check out the SEDI-MAT using the link in my description, because it's only available for a limited time, so if you want one, you gotta act now. As always, huge thank you to all the artists that worked on today's Pokemon. They can all be found in the description, so make sure to go check them out. And I'll see you all in the next episode, but until then,